live on RG, IG, live on YouTube, and we are live on Facebook. What up, people? What up? What up? What up? Haiti Biz News Show, Monday to Friday, bringing you news that's going to keep you informed, engaged, and reacting in the most optimal way for your business, investment, entrepreneur activity in Haiti. Today's 4th of June. Let's talk about it. We got a quick episode here, just because this is a topic that needs to be talked about. I did mention it briefly in comments yesterday. We did have someone ask about it. Great question, and I thought it makes sense to bring it on air, and particularly since it is on the news all over right now, and that topic, that information is related to Central Bank of Haiti, Bank Republic d'Haïti, and they're doing some things related to trying to keep the good HTG, Haitian good, from devaluating. As we know, we're currently sitting around 93, 94, 95 HTG per US dollar, which is the big reference point. But of course, across all contact points, maybe against the good, maybe against the Canadian dollar, maybe against the euro, the HTG has been in a rapid decrease across the board. And it makes sense because a lot of the factors that we'll talk about here, that's making it go in that direction. But the BRH is doing its job, as any other central bank to do, which is keep inflation and since the currency is so tied to inflation, given our import economy, to keep that in check by using the tools in their toolbox to make that happen. And it's 95 when 3 years ago, when I first really started to engage in Haiti and started doing what I'm doing, the good was around 60 good per dollar, and now it's 30. So it means it's lost 30 points of currency, if you want to use that term. And that's a problem because everything in this economy is connected to the US dollar. Everything's imported, which is one of those roundabout things that affects the fact that the currency itself is decreasing, right? This roundabout fashion way, right? And so, car starting there, my apologies, right? And it's one of those roundabout things that really has done a massive disservice to the economy of Haiti. What is the BRH trying to do? What are they trying to do to improve the situation, right? So they're trying, they're releasing $150 million of US dollars into the Forex, right? $150 million of US dollars into Forex until September 30th, right? That's a major thing they're trying to do to prevent folks from hoarding dollars, right? So if you make the US dollars much more available, it decreases the value of those folks who are holding it off, right? Because a big thing of what's driving demand is the level of access to the dollar, right? And so they're dropping over $150 million over the next 3 months in different phases and bursts, right? And most importantly, they're removing the reserve requirement for certain HTG deposits, right? Certain deposits that were going to lock HTG in, they're removing it. And of course, it's economic theory around reserve ratios. I'm not going to get too deep into it, but in effect, if you decrease or allow more dollars to go out into the economy, right, because the banks aren't holding as many, then, right, in theory, the counter value of the currency that we're trying to fight, in this case, every other currency, should decrease because there's more good in the economy circulating and doing activity, right? So those two things together is what the BRH is trying to do, trying to implement to improve the condition, economically speaking. But here's why it's not going to be enough, right? You have a big pillar of the economy right now, the tourism sector, being hammered, right? A big sector because of the travel ban. I mean, we're getting reports as much as 50% of occupancy has been down since the travel ban has been in effect, which has been utterly eviscerating already difficult sector to be in, which is tourism in Haiti. And we don't know when exactly the ban is going to be lifted, right? We have a demand, the demand, and one thing you have to understand in terms of the process flow of what drives currency up, right? So currency, when you're interacting with currency, it's when the demand, okay, if you're selling a good and service to the international market, right, and you're purchasing that good and service from the Haitian economy, for example, right? To do that exchange, you need what? HTG. You need good, right? You follow me? Don't lose me now. You guys are looking at me like my economic students back when I taught it at Miami-Dade. So don't lose me here. I'm gonna get through this real quick, right? And so when you're providing good and service, right, folks, you need to provide that money ultimately in the currency of that economy, which is HTG in this point. So even if you're given dollars, it does eventually get exchanged to good because the folks receiving it have to expend their expenses in good, which is the currency of that economy, right? And so because Haiti has so few goods and services that we trade internationally, again, we're an import-focused economy, few folks are setting up export-focused businesses, right? We don't have a constant source of good flowing into our economy. And that's a very big problem right now. I've said this before in previous videos. We actually do have something which is our physical bodies, the physical bodies of Haitians who move abroad, who have to expat out. Those physical bodies do represent something, a good and service, right? And there's another article on HaitiBizNews.com where we talked about there's a 6% increase in remittances, a 6% increase in remittances, right? So right now we're bringing in the folks sending money abroad. It's bringing in $1.5 billion. $1.5 billion are coming in through some. You would argue that's great. Yeah, we're getting a big part. We're getting money. This is good. That's a good thing. Money's coming in. Foreign currencies coming in, which is a very helpful thing. But understand, let's say you get somebody who's living over there. Right? They're making $100. Just keep it real simple. $100 a month in salary, right? Rent usually runs what? 33% of someone's income, right? So that's $33 right there. That's locked into that economy, the economy where the person is. That's number one. Don't forget, the person has to eat. The person has to clothe themselves. The person has to spend money on transportation, right? All those things add up, typically speaking, to another 30%. Right? Assuming the person is even budgeting well, right? So that's right there, $60 to $65 out of 100, right? Now, assuming the person does have a little bit of budget to entertain themselves, buy beer, right? Go out, catch a movie, and let's just say, again, still a very responsible person. It's only spending maybe $5 of that. So that means that's about $70, right? Is locked into that economy, that domestic economy where that person resides. I mean, even there's only $30 then to send to, I'm not even talking about taxes and everything like that. You're talking about taxes and a bunch of other stuff, the fees, probably want to lob off another $5, right? And so right there you have then $25, right? That the person will send to Haiti. So do you see, as much as, you can say, okay, well, Haitian labor is a positive thing that is going and bringing money in, but it's only bringing in a very small portion. Not to mention, you're losing the brain, losing that person's productive facility who could have been doing stuff in your country while they're working on their part hours to do things, a fraction of ultimately what the person produces, which ultimately all stays in their country that they currently reside. So that's a terrible thing, right? Other things aggravating the good. You have, countrywide protests. Twice last year, we had, a week-long and some change protests that totally shut down all economic activity, including the activity in industrial parks. We had a almost doubling of the wage of the garment factory, which already they were planning some major expansions, but that ultimately, I've heard in at least two of the major garment companies textile companies have decided to pull back on that, right? And of course, things like franchise still exist, although the last administration under Seejeanty did restrict new franchise from occurring. The old franchise are still in effect, right? And of course, during all this, between the paid law, between the travel ban, we have a massive decrease in FDI, right? Foreign direct investment has also plummeted. So all these things put together, right, in short, has caused and is the reason too why there isn't, what BRH is doing right now isn't going to affect a thing, right? What we need, number one, is a government. We don't have a government yet, right? We still have Jovenel trying to put up candidates that the opposition refused to accept, right? There is no middle ground being met here, right? I hear talks of certain things happening, certain political moves occurring, which, I don't want to get too much in politics. I'll talk about it if it happens. But of course, what may be about to happen may not happen, because what's going to happen perhaps is a series of events that's going to give Jovenel a lot of power, right? I'm allude to it, but let's see if it happens, right? Because we report news that's happened, not rumors, right? But if this thing did happen, it will give Jovenel a lot of power. At the same time, he rule by decree in effect. But at the same time, we have this the Haitian Mueller report that came out to show that Jovenel was, in fact, incredibly a part of the corruption that was occurring in the country, Petrocaribe, right? So whether that's going to happen or not, that's unknown. But we don't have a government. That's the point, right? We don't have a government because the PM can't be, and his cabinet can't be ratified by the Senate, because opposition are refusing to allow the séance to happen. We need incredible investments in really two aspects: agriculture and anything SME that is industrial that could be exported out. We need massive investment and massive facilitation from a business rule perspective. Those things certainly need to happen, right? And really, those are the main things that need to happen. It's not rocket science, right? It's not something that's going to happen overnight either. But those two fundamental things: stable government, right, and facilitation of business, of proper entrepreneurial business, right, in two primary sectors: agriculture and anything in an industrial sense that's going to produce a lot of jobs. That's it. That's really what this economy needs. And I guess a third thing would be a complete revamp of our taxation policy, where we tax things we can't produce, i.e., we do not tax things we can't produce: cars, technology, right? Those should be at zero, almost 0 or 1%, right? And things that we can produce, zili, rice, agricultural products, you name it, they should be taxed to the hilt. Now, obviously, there should be a little bit of a transition to allow folks to build the capacity domestically to start to build and do those things. But every other country does it. Every other country, you've been watching how Trump has been, going to war with China and putting import tariffs on things that Trump feels should be American. And that's just a very clean example, because that's just been happening, has been on the news, right? Every other country does it. This isn't something that we're going radically against. Even the most liberal countries in the world protect some domestic components that are critical to that country's economic survival. Every other country does it. We're not doing it, right? We need to start doing it. It's just that simple, right? Those are the things that are needed, right? So God bless BRH's heart. BRH actually is one of the few institutions that actually traditionally done and operated pretty good and corruption-free and to a standard that is internationally respected, because they have to be, right? To interact with the international financial market, you have to be a very disciplined, corruption-free institution, right? So they've done a pretty good job, and even right now, hats off to them because the exist elsewhere. Okay. I appreciate you folks who endured this economic lesson. You guys have done a lot better than my economic students back I taught. So hats off to you guys. Kudos, right? A+ to everybody involved, right? So we'll be back tomorrow. As I mentioned last episode, we're doing lives this week as we're trying to put together a really nice Seejeanty Sights and Sounds video of some activity of the Eco Lodge we visited this past weekend in Papet around Gunglov. It's coming together really nicely. Hopefully, we should be able to release it at the end of the week, and hopefully before the end of the week, we'll be back to our usual episodic, very clean cut production that you guys are used to. But of course, that's not going to stop me from bringing and discussing real economic news and stories to you guys. You know what I mean? And let's see, Mr. Turk 2000, chat much better than Facebook, if you're honest. Yeah, appreciate it. Definitely, folks. Again, if any folks on Facebook, etc., are having problems, of course, I'm on 3 different mediums. I'm on YouTube and I'm on IG. So if Facebook Live is ever having issues, you can always just switch streams and you can catch me online. And of course, I appreciate the folks watching IG. For Chan, appreciate the comment. It's always nice to get a compliment early morning. And of course, we'll be back again Monday to Friday around this time every day. If I'm probably usually recording, even when I'm recording the traditional show, IG Live is always a thing. Is always available to you guys to watch, to catch the information right on time. Right. And again, I think that's it. We'll wrap it up. You already know, hit that subscription button, hit that follow button, hit that notification. Right. And of course, I am on Patreon if you want to help this show grow and do its thing and be personally have a stake. You already know, hit up. Peace. Till tomorrow.